welcome to Love and Friendship. I'm your host, Michael Koran, and what I'd like to share with you on Mother's Day is my remembrance of my dear beloved mother, Evelyn Korn. There's an old Jewish prayer that if you remember well, living or dead, people that are dear to you, you give them energy to rise either after this life or even in this life to a more heavenly life. So I hope this memory of my dear beloved mother will help her, and I hope all mothers, rise to the loving, freely loving place they deserve to be, healing place. Now, my mother always loved honesty because when she was 16, she tells me this, I go to school and the kids start yelling at me, "You bastard! Evelyn, you're a bastard! You're a bastard!" And I run home, says my mother, to my mom, and I say, "Mom, why is everybody calling me a bastard?" And my mother says, "Honey, we didn't want to tell you this because we wanted to think we wanted you to think we were your real parents, but we adopted you when you were 1. So we're going to give you 2 birthdays now. The one you celebrated April 24th, and the one when we got you a year later after you were born, and April 10th when you were born. So Mom, you had 2 birthdays, but you were always looking for what was real after this. You never believed the way things appeared to be. You were like a good dramatist. Illusion and then what's really, really going on. So I'm sure you would appreciate, Evelyn. I can feel you here now. Thank you. Mother's Day. I'm sure you would appreciate the honesty of this memory. And for our beloved audience here, this is a Surgeon General's warning. Although there'll be much trauma in this story, it'll have a happy ending, where hopefully we and all mothers and children will eventually learn to live happily ever after, discover the love between them. So I call, I shouldn't do this. I hope. Yes, so I call the first act of this remembrance trauma's gifts. Gifts that trauma can give us. There's a wonderful poem by Rumi that says it's called The Guest House. Whatever experiences come, depression, joy, meanness, sadness, greet them at the door laughing and invite them in. They are gifts to help our soul become whole. And so when I share some of these traumas with you, I will look with you to see how they really, really, really can be gifts. Mom, you meet Dad. It's the old falling on the ice trick. Women used to drop their handkerchiefs, when they saw someone they liked. So, Mom, you're ice skating in Radio City, and you're it's the old falling on the ice trick. My mom falls down. When she sees this handsome fireman skating on the ice, he picks you up, Mom. You say, "Oh, thank you, kind sir." He asks you out, says, "What would you like to do?" which is very kind of him. And you say, "Bike riding." And you tell me later, "Dad spent the week learning how to bike ride." That's how I came to be. Good old Dad, good old falling on the ice trick. Well, you go out, Mom, with, I think I'll have to start doing it this way and do it this way. You go out, Mom, and after about 6 months, you go visit Cousin Esther. And Cousin Esther says, "Evelyn, do you love Charlie?" And you say, "Sure." "Charles, do you love Evelyn?" "Sure." And Cousin Esther says, "Okay, you both can get married now." Almost like an arranged marriage. And Mom, you tell me you walk out and you're in a daze. And you tell Charles, "That's too quick for us. We're not ready." And Charles says, you tell me, "Mom, honey, if you don't marry me now, we're never going to get married." Dad was very concerned what people would think if after Cousin Esther married them. So they get married, and then they didn't. And so they get married and go to Niagara Falls for their honeymoon. Oscar Wilde said, one of the most disappointing, the only thing more disappointing than Niagara Falls is the honeymoon that people spend when they go there. And my mother, Evelyn, shares with me too much information how disappointed she was on her honeymoon. She does tell me the happiest time, you tell me this, Mom, the happiest time in my life is when I'm pregnant with you, Michael. I'd love to get back there again. Can I go back? This story helped me, Mom, get even back to the womb, to feel like the great song that I play every morning. He's got the whole world in his hands. Can I feel wombed by life? Alive, womb with a view? And this story helped me and all of us feel that we've come from this cradling ocean, really of love. Well, Dad tells me much later that I wasn't planned, but that we're going to eventually have a son. My first memory, thanks to my father, who tells me this when I'm 50, that Dad and you, Mom, read from Dr. Watson that you should only feed the child at the end of every 4th hour. Don't spoil the child. You want a disciplined baby who can lead a disciplined life. So my mom tells me, Mikey, you cry and cry and cry. You want food. You cry for food, and we won't give it to you. We don't want to spoil you. We want to be good parents, like Dr. Watson says. And so at the end of the 4th hour, good for me, I refused food. Not going to put me on a schedule. When my dad tells me this, he says, this is why I think you're so stubborn your whole life, Michael. So I refused food. You don't want me to die. So Dad holds my arms out. And I don't want food, but Mom pours formula down my throat and I have to take it in. When I tell this experience to my beloved first wife, Robbie Furkan, she says, oh, this can help explain your life. Guess what happens when I go to study religion at the University of Chicago? Who is this Jewish boy attracted to? Hands stretched out like this. And thank you, Mom, this was your way, and Dad, of religious education. I had none other. So I get attracted to this Jewish boy in pain on a cross, and he can come off and live happily ever after and after. What hope in spring on Mother's Day. And I can get off the cross. Telling this to you might help too. And live happily ever after and after that. So this is my religious education from you, Mom. And guess what? Guess with a bottle over this baby spread out like he's on an altar and being forced onto him what he doesn't want. That's one other story I'm attracted to. Thank you for imprinting this on my body, Abraham and Isaac. And when I study that story, I discover, as people who know who've read it, Isaac's name means laughter. Isaac's name means laughter. In spite of that being bound on the altar, like popcorn. Her name when I was growing up, like popcorn, Isaac gets off the altar and manages to live and start a family of his own. So this is a great religious education, spiritual education. Whatever's going on. As Rumi says in his poem, The Guest House, greet whatever experience is coming at the door, laughing, invited in. Of course, it took me a long time to realize these traumatic gifts, I could call them. They're not immediately apparent as gifts. Eventually, they did become gifts. And I meet life at the door, whatever's going on, inside or out, at the door laughing. And one more gift from this primal experience. Now, I don't want the food. When I'm hungry, I'm not given it. When I refuse it, because I don't want to be on a schedule, it's forced down. How to deal? My primal desire for food is messed up. I don't care. do anything to get it when I want it, and I don't want it to be forced on me. How to handle that as I grow up. There's a Jewish story that helps. A rabbi comes home to his wife on Sabbath. There's no food at all. She says, Rabbi, there's no food at all for the Sabbath. And the rabbi starts dancing around, whoa, singing. And his wife says, why are you singing? And he says, I'm celebrating the fact that I have a marvelous appetite. And so I have learned, I've had to learn, maybe in order to eat food well. It was so hard for me when I went away to school, even eating a section of orange at the wrong time. The orange would lie in my belly, and it would take about 2 days to digest. I had to learn, I hope I'm learning it more now, to celebrate the fact I have a marvelous appetite and not be attached, as the Buddhists say, to the outcome. Enjoy my desires, and I don't need to get them fulfilled. I can enjoy the journey of my desires. There's a Buddhist story of a monk chased by a tiger. I've felt this much of my life. Just escaping, climbing a vine, and there's another tiger on top, waiting for monk for lunch. Then a mouse claws down the vine, nibbling at the vine. It looks pretty bad for our monk. He sees a strawberry, reaches out, takes a bite, and says how sweet it is to just enjoy reaching for the strawberry and maybe getting it. So you teach me these trauma gifts, and thank you. You were trying in your way to raise a disciplined son. You teach me to enjoy my desires, and in my better moments not get attached to outcome. My first memory, that was what my dad shared with me before force feeding, is I'm 3 years old. I walk into the kitchen because I hear bam, bam, bam. And I say, Ma, why are you hitting the ceiling with a broom? And my mother says, the people upstairs made a lot of noise at a party like last night, and they kept me up. So I'm getting them up in the morning. Bam! 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 Ouch, ouch. It's very... Now when I tell this story in my writing class, I ask my students to share their first memories too. When I first started sharing this story, in the 70s, I expected and got that people were saying, oh, that must have been hard for you, poor Mikey, to have such an aggressive mother. Now, when I share the story, some people say, right on, Evelyn, fight for what you want. So, good for you, Mom, even though you scared your 3-year-old boy. Now there's a D.H. Lawrence story. It begins as the rocking horse winner. They marry for love, and when the love turns to dust, all they hear from the furniture, the ceilings, and the floors, all the woman hears is there must be more money. There must be more money. And you, Evelyn, a depression child, married in almost a forced marriage, also hear that. There must be more money. You just seem to not be able to want and hold on to money. So in this unhappy family, my brother was born. And my brother Len had one characteristic I really couldn't stand. You know, people have certain things that are annoying to you. My brother Len existed. I mean, I could not forgive him for that. I had enough trouble in this family getting some love I wanted. And he existed. He was alive. Len, how could you? So in my young mind, I decided I would help him become a child psychiatrist, actually. And I, being bigger than Len, would sit on his arms and spit into his face. I really guaranteed he'd go into psychiatry. And my mother would tell my dad when he came home. And my father, we had a custom. He'd only hit me on my backside to show me you shouldn't pick on smaller people. And so I'd go into my bedroom. He really pushed me into the bedroom. And we would spend almost a half an hour. He would be trying to hit me and I'd squirm on the bedpost with my legs. Eventually, Dad hits me, walks out of the room, and I say, "Son of my mother, you bastard!" He comes back, we do it again. Eventually he hits me a little less hard, and I say, as he leaves, "You bastard!" And again we do this. And I say more quietly, "You bastard." And I can see he pretends not to hear me. But I know and he knows that he did hear me. And being the son of you, Mom, I am stubborn. And I don't talk to Dad for days. And you come, Mom, and you say, "Mikey, you're hurting your dad's feelings. Tell him you're sorry. You've hurt his feelings." And good boy that I am, I go sit next to my dad before dinner and I say, "Dad, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I think since then, for decades, I did not want to feel for other people again. It was too humiliating to care. And so I adopted a persona of caring because it was too frightening not to care for anyone. And I've done that for many years, and finally discovering, telling stories like this, oh my, I was trying to care, but I didn't really. There was a shell around my heart. The nice thing about discovering this, since I've gone through the moves of caring, now that I'm beginning to open my heart, I have the caring moves down, what to say, how to look, and now it can go into this form that I created and begin to be genuine if I have the courage to wait until I really do care and I'm not just pretending to care. So this too I'd like to say, I really have no choice, is a traumatic gift of eventually, maybe now, learning, if I take my time, to let natural care come through. My dear beloved mom, surrounded by these 2 and then 3 boys in a loveless marriage, was not allowed to work. Dad said, Evelyn, you love making clothes for children and selling them to the veterans that live next to us in the Veterans Project. And Dad said, I'm sorry, no wife of mine is going to work. And so one of your few pleasures, making money yourself, was denied you. So life is even, now I can feel it now, I can feel for you. You born an orphan, not distrusting discovering your family isn't your real family, in a really loveless marriage with these children surrounding you in the way, and your one pleasure, you can't any longer sell the children's clothes. This is my beloved mother when she was married to a fireman who eventually went into the Navy. When I look close, because I have my director in the audience, Stan Edelson, and he wisely told me, look at this photo and see, discover what you feel about looking at it now. And she looks, you do, Mom, conventionally beautiful. But when I look closely, I can see you're conventionally beautiful. You're not the mother I eventually knew, who could take off the mask of being conventionally beautiful and discover, as you're helping me now this Mother's Day, discover who you are. In the lower right, if you can see it, I'll come a little closer. No, that won't work. In the lower left is me and my younger brother with my dad. I look very twisted, and I am. And again, my mom, you, Evelyn, wanted me to be conventionally masculine in the society. And so when I was hitting Len and you were hitting me anywhere, arms, legs, head, and I'd start to cry, you would say, stop crying, boys don't cry, you make me feel like I'm a lousy mother, stop crying. Ooh. We're reliving this now, sharing it with you this Mother's Day, and I've shared the story before. Since this is called Trauma's Gift, I want to look at the challenging gift telling this experience to you. I now understand it was very hard to touch people, especially women. I would, when I started touching women, holding their hand even, hold their hand and wonder, see if I could feel, are you going to hit me? So it was very challenging to touch someone after experiences like this. And as I did with so many other things, it's almost as if I created another hand, Mom. So it would be safe. This would be pretend to be a hand, but I would kind of be hiding behind it. But discovering this, many, many years, finding eventually a nurse who I love, who was so gentle and understanding, even of my fears. I could begin, this is the gift, to discover almost a baby hiding under there, a young boy. And when I got rid of the protection, it felt so special to touch a hand or anything. The floor, the air, feeling you, even maybe on TV, even from afar. So the gift was eventually to discover how exquisite touch is, how nourishing, from being deprived for so long. It's now wonderful to touch most anything. Not most anything, anything. Hooray for touch. And in your own way, and if we stay tuned, we'll see how you help me eventually. This is a long, these traumatic gifts take a long time to become gifts. I didn't start making love to women till I was 30 years old, holding them even then to see if they will hit me or not. And it was like your life in the orphanage, Mom. They've done studies that babies who are brought up in an orphanage the first years of their life, if they're not touched, many of them, a huge percentage, die from lack of touch. And because I had your fiery personality, Mom, I didn't die, even though touch was so very painful. At least it was happening. The hitting was touch. I don't recommend it. And you too. No touch. No satisfying touch. Again, telling me how disappointed you were on your honeymoon. So again, when the love turns to dust, there must be more money. So you, Mom, never wanted to spend money. It was almost like having money was the love that you needed. My youngest brother, Scott, and I go with you, Mom, shopping at Macy's. And I find Levi's for him. He's 10 years younger than me. I want him to feel like a man. They're $7. I'm at the checkout counter, and you, Mom, don't want to spend $7 for Levi's. You wanted them for $6. And you say, we're not going to buy the Levi's. And I said, yes, we are. And at the checkout counter, you grab one leg of Levi. I grab the other. I'm stronger now. And I buy the Levi's for my brother. One of your challenges, I know them all in my own life, being your son. You were threatened if we had a good time. We'd go to the beach, and a rare moment in our family, we had a good time at the beach. And your unhappy feelings, your own traumas, that was not bearable. When we get in the car, you say, Mikey, you're getting sand in the car. And you could again feel comfortable because the family was unhappy. Again, these are traumatic gifts. To know that. To know, oh my, I'm uncomfortable when people are happy, is beginning, just beginning, to not mess it up like you do, Mom, and maybe very humbled, to just be humbled by the happiness in the moment, even though it's rare for me. Thank you again for this traumatic, if I can say this now, because of what happened between us after. Again, remember I promised you this is going to be a dramatic story with a happy ending. So thank you for bearing with me with the trauma. Reliving it is freeing with you. I have this dream for 7 years of going through tunnels, subways. At the end of 7 years of dreams like this, I get out of the tunnel. I'm naked, crawling through. I see you, Mom, and you see me naked. You reach toward my center and you say, I want that. Again, good to know, having the dream can eventually be a gift. The following night I dream, I'm with you again after going through the tunnel. We see 2 boys whose hair are dyed. They're 1 and 3, like Len and I when we were young. And you say, how come these boys are not doing well? And I say, Mom, you're trying to dye their hair. Their hair's dyed. You're not letting them be who they are. And ouch! I feel a stab in my stomach. But it's a dream. Knowing this is going on between us can help me say, if I want to have my body be my body, I need to not need anything from you and distance myself from you. And eventually, this is my body. I can enjoy knowing that. Well, that was Act 1, trauma gifts. Act 2, I'm calling love and money. Or it could be love versus money, you'll decide. William Faulkner said in his Southern drawl, the 3 most important things in the world are love, money, and I forgot the 3rd. So this act is about love and money. Maybe there's a 3rd, we'll see. This is how my mother's and my relationship changed. From these trauma gifts to really loving and money gifts. After I come back from Israel, I call my mother and say, I'm a college student, I say, I don't want to talk to you for 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, we'll talk. I think it's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Then we can graduate. And there's nothing you can do. And you actually say, okay. At the end of 4 years, One, without you in my life, Mom, I meet my wife-to-be, my beloved first wife, Rabbi Foifer Khan. At the end of 4 years, Dad calls and says, your mother has just had a heart attack. Call her. And I'm not that stubborn, even though the 4 years aren't exactly up. I call you, Mom, and say I send you my healing love. Come and visit me when you're well in Cambridge. And you come. I pick you up at the airport. I drive you to Mopsy Strange Kennedy's house, which I rented for the summer for you, with your money. Thank you. You walk in, you go to the refrigerator, and you say, not having changed after 4 years, look, there's no food in the refrigerator. What kind of son are you? You can't be a host of your mother with no food. What is wrong with you? Things have not changed. And I say, after 4 years, Mom, we need to talk more kindly to each other. And Evelyn Koran, pow, 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 says, stop trying to control how I talk. What's wrong with you? You're Hitler, you're Hitler, you're Hitler. And I know to walk out. I leave some food at the door. I say, I'm going to leave some food at the door now, and I'll be back in the morning. And I go in the morning, and I say hello, and you, Evelyn, say, Mikey, you're right. I think we should talk to each other more kindly. And as we're eating breakfast, I can see you biting your tongue. Not to say words you'd usually say. We used to visit my brother Len, and if they were eating Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast, you'd say, that Dunkin' Donuts has hydrogenated vegetable oil. You're putting poison in your veins. You were not invited back there again. You were forced right, which made it even harder to handle. But now, you're biting your tongue, and you've bit your tongue or kept your words mostly kindly from then on. And you become so grateful to me. It was really Dad's job. So grateful to me for teaching you how to get along with our family. To bite your tongue when you're going to not be kind. Well, I go visit you in Sarasota. Dad had bought an apartment for you, a condo for you in Sarasota. And it's still very painful to be with you. I have all these memories. I tell them about there being traumatic gifts. But I still feel the pain. I can hardly move. You seem more alive than I, even though you're over 20 years older than I. At the end of the visit, for the first time I can remember in my life, you say, Mikey, what would you like to do? And I say, I'd like to visit a national park. And you say, oh, it's too far away. Translated as, it's going to cost gas money. And then you change your mind. You say, well, I had a plan with someone, but I'll take you. I ask you to call them, and you say, as we're on the trip, and you say, no. I know translated, I've learned the dime phone call. But still, we're on this trip to the national park. We walk on a path with crocodiles, in the water, making me feel what's going on in our life. And then we see an armadillo kind of waddling across the road. And you moms say, how cute, look Mikey, an armadillo. And in that one moment, first time in my life, I feel a sliver of love between us. The shells that were around me, at least, the shells that the armadillo had on, protecting the armadillo, the shells were pierced. There's an old Kabbalah mantra that we have 1,000 shells around our true nature. I told this to my friend Wendy and she said, only 1,000? But at this moment with the armadillo saying how cute, little Mikey felt, oh, he could be cute too. And I feel the love. And it begins to grow. I have a poem that is called, Once We Plant the Seed, Love Grows Like a Weed. And then when you visit my housemate, condo across the way, my adopted sister Muriel says, I've never seen a more devoted mother and son. My mom, my miserly mom, you say, I'm living in a condo, used to be servants' quarters, no sink in the bathroom, among other things, old sink. And you say, I'm going to, sink in the kitchen, I'm going to give you $5,000, Mikey. You can fix up your kitchen, living room, bathroom. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. You called me from Sarasota about 2 weeks later. Did you start fixing your kitchen? I said, I'm not really interested in fixing my kitchen. I can use my kitchen sink. I don't need one in the bathroom. And you say, Michael, you can keep the $5,000. I don't want to control your life. Next year you visit, you say, I still want you to have a nice kitchen and bathroom. This time we're going to shop together if you want it and buy things if you want to. And we do. We have kind of loads of fun picking out a new kitchen sink, a new counter, and that's how I get a much better condo. And eventually, when our cooperative becomes truly a condo, you and Dad pay, it only costs $6,000. I wouldn't have it as an adult education teacher. You miserly mom, start giving me money to help me have a nice home to live in. When I needed a car, you again, my miserly mom, helped me buy a $6,000 used Camry. And what helps me live now, you wanted to also have a place in the summer in my condominium complex, and you give me the money to buy you another condo, only $20,000, there was rent control then, another $10,000 to fix it up, and now it's helped paying for my retirement. So Mom, miserly mother, you discovered, I think through the love between us, to want to help your now beloved son live better, be more wealthier. Love not only conquered money, it enabled money to become part of love. Now, this isn't just an all nice story. We're sitting on my rooftop. My neighbor is sitting with us. I'm going out with a woman, Robbie, and my mother asked my friend, do you think Mikey should marry Robbie? Talking about me in the third person. And my apartment mate says, oh sure. And the following day, I find myself not knowing why, down on my knees asking Robbie, would you marry me? It took me a while to realize my mother wanted me to marry Robbie. I think Robbie's parents were multi-millionaires. Robbie's father became a dentist at Danny Glover and Paul Newman. With the money he got, he bought Calder paintings. And I got into a marriage like my mother I was not ready for. Too much trauma needed healing. Fortunately, we parted, although she's still, I call her my beloved first wife. So this is still a cautionary tale. I made one mistake, inviting my mom back into my life. I should not have shared what was going on between me and other women. Well, my mother, Evelyn Koran, at 60, becomes a yoga teacher. And I have a bad back. I used to be a mover, and I had a moving company called Creative Movers. Our motto was, if you haven't moved, you haven't gone anywhere. And I would pick up pianos and refrigerators with others, and eventually hurt my back. And my mother became my back healer, teaching me her yoga. I still do the regime you taught me. Most weeks, in the summer at least, Mom. What a gift. You're still in my body in a good way now. A healing way. Healing those wounds. At the end of each of our yoga, on the roof or in the park, my mother teaches me this mantra. Each day, in every way, we're growing better and 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 better. We would say this after each. I still say this with my adopted sister who loves you too, Beatrice, who needs to hear this. So we're getting on, in some ways, so well together, though it's still, I still have many of those shells. And I'm afraid I'm doing a spiritual bypass. I'm loving this new, generous mother, and I'm not really in touch with many of the traumas that I'm sharing with you this evening. So there's really two mothers in me. There's the, we'll call her not very good mother growing up, and this loving, generous mother. And I haven't reconciled yet, harmonized, enabled my bad mother to rise and become the good mother, the loving mother. There's still, I'm schizophrenic as far as mothers go. One of the ways toward the end of our life I try to heal is I invite you, Mom, to something called Sexual Abuse Anonymous, some name like that. And you go. I, like you, am a workshop junkie. You go. We go to Sexual Abuse Anonymous. We go in, for some reason, the sexual God is with us. I'm asked to give the long speech. Usually everyone just talks for 3 minutes. One man even left because he said, Michael's here for the first time, he shouldn't give 20 minutes, but the leader says, go for it. And I tell this true story that happened when I was with my not very good mother. I'm going to the bathroom, and there's no doors that can't be opened in our house. No privacy whatsoever. You open the door to the bathroom, look at me urinating, and say, Mikey, I wish your father would amaze me the way you do. When I tell a friend of mine who was abused much more brutally than that, she said, that's enough for abuse, though. No wonder I had those dreams, going through a tunnel for 7 years, to eventually, thanks to sharing that with you now, knowing my body belongs to me. And I share this with my mother and others and with you now. And there's one storyteller, Isaac Dinesen, it's a famous movie out of Africa about her, and she says, all sorrow can be overcome if we put it in a story. So these painful, traumatic experiences, which I kept to myself, not even telling me, sharing them with you, with the attention you're giving me, the loving attention you're giving me, I'm no longer alone with them. I'm free of the prison, thanks to you. Thank you so much. Well, at the very end of your life here in Cambridge, Mom, I drive you back home to be with Charles, your husband, who's living with another woman, but still married to you. My father was one of the few men who had a secret rendezvous with his wife, you, Evelyn. And you had a lover too, whose name, of course, was Michael. Oh. And when you tell me, I say, Mom, don't tell me. You should tell Dad, not me, if you tell anybody. And you tell my father, your son, Michael, wants me to tell you that I have a lover. My dad was angry at me for many years, according to my mom. But I drive you home, even though Dad's living with another woman in Brooklyn. I'm driving you home to your home in New Jersey with Dad. And Dad and I start talking, which is rare for me and my dad, in the den He doesn't bring his hearing aids, typical of my father, but we are talking, we are communing. And in the kitchen, you, Mom, break a vase. And the end of our communion, or the end of both of their lives, this communion was broken between my dad and I as we helped Mom get the vase, and I was in shock when I left. My father had said when I came at the door to meet me, "How long are you going to be here, Mike?" It was just that evening. I go to the train station to get back to Boston, and I feel from the beginning, from the forced feeding to the very end, Mom, you and Dad, part of your feelings toward me was to traumatize me. I understand now you were unhappy. Dad said I wasn't planned. And you didn't like the fact that I existed either as your son. I trapped you in a bad marriage. And how, I ask now, can the torture or trauma or both that parents like you and Dad inflict on me, in some ways almost willfully, how is that a gift? I was talking to my drama teacher, Stan Edelson, who's here in the audience last night, and it came to me talking with him, he's such a sympathetic audience. Oh my, I don't have to be afraid anymore to not exist. I don't have to be afraid of feeling nothing. So much could come through me when I feel I'm nothing. So many energies, powers, gifts, people. Nothing is in the way. And so that, too, telling the story to people like you can help free me from the trauma. Well, at the very end of their life, Mom, living in New Jersey, is told by my father the money is jointly held. They had invested in the stock market. And Mom, you being Mom, not trusting from the moment you were told you were adopted and weren't the biological daughter of your parents, start looking in Dad's drawers, discovers infidelity in Merrill Lynch, the money in the stocks is only in Dad's name. And you complain and you're good at that, and he changes it to money jointly held. And thanks to your Sherlock Holmesing, your sleuthing, we, my brothers and I, inherit from you the money in the stock market my dad had. Otherwise, it might have gone all to the woman he was happy with living in Brooklyn. So thank you for trying to find out what's real. Now, my last experience of my mother I'll share with you is I visit her, I visit you, Mom. You're staying in assisted living. The only way we got you into assisted living was you fell on the floor in your condo and stayed there all night. You couldn't get up. Finally, you've as a strong woman as you are, okay. I'm visiting your struggle with money. is still there, but you're paying $3,000 a month for this, and you get all the food you can eat. You had become a fascist food fetish. You'd only eat what the white men in the radio said was good to eat, but here you are in assisted living, and the food you paid for already is free, and you start eating all these foods, all these donuts, all this cake that you had told us not to eat happily in your assisted living. You're skinny because you're a yoga teacher, but a big belly back there. I'm visiting after sharing the delicious cake in this assisted living. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm kneeling by your bedside. I don't have the courage yet to hug you in bed. Now I would, if you can feel it now. But then it was too much for me. But I'm communing in ways I'm comfortable with, without touching you. And you wake up at 5 in the morning, you open your eyes, and you say, "You almost missed Michael. You almost missed Michael." And I'm touched, even though it's a funny construction. She might have been talking to herself. And go back to Boston. And the next time I go see you, you're lying on the concrete slab in a cremation place. And we look, when we're celebrating your life, we look at videos. You've been on this show. It's called Growing Older Laughing with Evelyn Koran, and I hope it's still on YouTube. And I look at the show and I realize it's safe to take you in much deeper than I was trying to be a good son, but kept you at a distance. And now that you're dead, I can let you in. It looks like I never saw you, Mom. And here's a picture of when you're older. And again, my dear friend and director Stan Edelson asked me yesterday when we were rehearsing for this, look at this picture carefully. Take it in. What do you feel about your mother when you see this picture now? And you're much more real, Mom. You're much more real than this beautiful you when you were married. And I can feel that you've gotten rid of many shells here. I can feel it now. I was not able to do what I can do now and really take you in and begin to feel. It's never too late to have a loving mother. Well, I can imagine you here now listening to this. And you know, you once almost wanted to become a psychologist in your 60s and decided yoga teacher instead. I know, we used to go to all these workshops together. And you can hear now that much as I love you, there was much more in me. Much more trauma, anger, fear, terror that I needed to get out. And now that you're a ghost here, I can hear you saying, get it out now, Mikey, get it out. And so I can put my hands around your ghost throat. Thank you, Mom. And I can squeeze and begin to, and continue, because this has been going on for a while, to get out the anger, the hatred, the fear, the trauma, squeezing and squeezing, and you'd encourage me, shout it out, Mikey. Shout it out, Mom. There's a lot of hate there too. There's still a lot of hate and fear and terror. And you'd say, shout it out, Mikey. I'd say, yes, it's coming out. This is a 10-year summary in this one event. Taken 10 years for this. Shout it out, Mikey. Get out all those feelings. Let our love embrace those feelings so we have a powerful love. Okay, I'm getting it out, Mom. And you're saying we're healing together. We're healing together. And I say, I'm free, Mom. I'm free of all of these traumas. Thank you. Thank you. And you say, we're healing together. And you take my hands that are around your throat and you put them on my head underneath your hands. And you say, I bless you, Michael. I bless you. And then I take our hands and put them around your head, and you lead us into each day in every way. We're growing better and better and better and better and better. Thank you, Evelyn Koran, for helping become true. It's never too late to have a loving mother.